In my last video, I said I wouldn't be back with another Darling in the Franxx video till the end of the season, but with the recent uproar over episode 20, I feel like I had to respond. And I'm here to say, episode 20 makes sense. I get it, the recent episode was unexpected, it was a betrayal of our expectations, but was it really? After rewatching it a few times, I had this thought: what if this is exactly where the story needed to go? The primary focus of the show has always been about the characters, specifically Squad 13 and their development. With this thinking in mind, if we shift our focus away from what was going on in episode 20 and concentrate on the children instead, you'll see that they're reacting just like us. This episode literally places us in their shoes by revealing that we've been just as much in the dark as they have. We're supposed to feel as confused as them because the world we've been seeing has only been through their limited view from the cage, and now that cage has been burst open to reveal the reality that's been hidden from them and in turn us. You can also see this with how they're framed. The children are made to look insignificant in the whole matter because this isn't their battle. As Zorome puts it, this reaction accurately captures the amount of frustration and helplessness the children feel knowing so little about their society and even more so, their world. From the people that brought us episode 14 of Darling in the Franxx, I'm sure the way this episode made us feel is by design. But why couldn't they just spend less time on the characters instead of shoehorning this alien plotline at the end? Because none of what really happened in episode 19 and 20 is important to the end game of the story. Up until this point, the creators have only wanted us to focus on the children. Every scene we've been given so far has been for the purpose of them growing as individuals. 02's mental breakdown and her subsequent confrontation with Ichigo leads her to find her true darling. Even though Hiro regains his memories, he has to summon the courage to be honest about his feelings with the group, even if he's rejected by them. As for the rest of the squad, we get multiple scenes of Zorome asking about being an adult, with his curiosity eventually leading him to meet an actual adult and learning the harsh reality that he will never become one. Then we have Kokoro and Mitsuru falling in love and getting married, which leads them to discover the truth about where children are born. Ikuno is finally able to confess her feelings to Ichigo, which helps Ichigo finally move on from her own feelings, and Futoshi makes the conscious choice to be their better person and learns to move on because his love for Kokoro and Mitsuru outweighs his feelings of anger. Even after Kokoro's memories are wiped, he still honors the love the two had for each other. And even this scene of Miku from this very episode. All of these scenes allowed them to start thinking for themselves as well as to start building a rapport with each other. They were all important in getting them to start questioning their society's beliefs and forming their own opinion on how they should be allowed to live. Even the screenwriter Naotaka Hayashi says the series can be broken up into 4 acts, 3 of which he tells us. The first one being 02 and Hiro learning to communicate with each other in the first 6 episodes, the second one being Hiro and 02 learning how to communicate with the rest of the group from episode 7 to 15, and the third one being how Squad 13 communicates with the rest of the adults and the world around them. The keyword throughout all of these acts is communication, specifically interpersonal communication. Why spend so much of the series on that? Because communication is at the heart of human beings understanding each other. Humans are wired to want to connect with other people, to live in community. We're not meant to be alone, and it is only together that we're able to achieve things that would be impossible to do on our own. Bringing it back to Squad 13, they needed to learn to fend for themselves and live amongst each other in order to survive once their society crumbled. That's why they had to learn how to cook and clean and be on their own for a while. The dystopian society was nothing more than a backdrop for the characters to respond to and grow. They are the lab experiment and we're supposed to be the observers, seeing how they evolve as they are exposed to all these different changes, whether it's hitting puberty or being abandoned by Papa. There's always been a stigma against 02 for not being human, yet Squad 13 isn't even completely human either. So the fact that we're able to see them grow closer together as a squad makes it less about where they came from and more about who they choose to be. At the heart of the show itself, it's about looking within and seeing how we respond to others. Basically, even if the odds might be outrageous, which leaves the question, why aliens? Because it further highlights the fact that the humans have been the most deceived. Just as the children have been living in a cage, on a much larger scale, the entire human race has been manipulated and kept in the dark about what's really happening on their planet. The majority of their species has been genetically modified and stripped of their ability to reproduce. They are in their most weakened state. They don't have the resources, much less the ability to defend their own planet. They no longer even have a place in the battle. With the Klaxosaurs no longer being the enemy and the people they're fighting for turning on them, they're left without purpose, as if they were never anything more than disposable. Once the people's minds were won over by Ape, they no longer mattered. Unknowingly, they traded in their free will for a false salvation. However, now they have a choice, either be left to die or come together and lean on the bonds they've already built in order to take back their planet. Think of the scene where the Klaxosaur princess says, This scene here shows us that even the Klaxosaurs were only able to fight because they worked together. And humanity's biggest weakness as a species is that they let themselves be fragmented. The only remaining unmodified human, Dr. Franxx, chose selfish isolation to satisfy his own curiosity. Without offspring, the bonds of family or friendship, or even orders telling them to fight, they're as good as extinct because nothing is driving them. To further illustrate this, as the world is going to be destroyed by Verm, Ichigo is left worrying about the people who truly matter to her, Hiro and 02, and Dr. Franxx is left lamenting the ruin of the only thing that ever mattered to him, a giant robot. This is where Squad 13 comes in. With the ability to reproduce and care for each other, they can take humanity back with their hands and build a world that's their own, not caged by the people that came before them. A world where they can fly free. That's why that cage symbolism has been so prominent and intentional throughout the series. The title of this episode was called A New World. Once the dust from this battle settles, the children will only have each other, and together they will become the new adults, with a new beginning for mankind being represented in Kokoro's child, the first in many years. Seeing how much care the creators have given to building up these characters, if the aliens were really that important to flesh out, they would have devoted more time to it than just 2 minutes at the end of an episode. Episode 19 only served to give us the information that we needed to bring us into episode 20, and I think that's okay, because if the true direction of the show is to get the characters to claim their own destiny against overwhelming odds, then I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. And if we arrange the opening for clues, we can see one possibility of how it could go. The reason 001 dissolves is because she's absorbed by Verm, essentially taking her out of the picture. Hiro is left alone in Strelitzia Apath, not being able to pilot it and on the verge of death. 02 has been taken away from him and he has to face this alone. Suddenly, 02 dives into the blue water to reach him, which is located at the core of where Strelitzia is implanted. When she finally reaches him, she kisses him immediately because she loves him and thought she might never see him again. Similar to how Code 001 kissed Hiro, this fully activates the Franxx and sets us up for the giant battle, where the rest of Squad 13 joins them, and 02 will possibly become the new princess to lead the Klaxosaurs. And the scene in the opening with the birds flying around represents the aftermath of the battle, with them achieving their freedom and their happy ending. But what do you think? Will Hiro and 02 dissolve into Strelitzia Apath and sacrifice themselves for their squad mates to live on, giving us a bittersweet ending? If you like this video, let us know by smashing that like button. If you want to stay up to date with all of our latest content, hit that subscribe button, and once you do, ring the little bell next to it so you can be notified of when our next video goes up. And if you've got any of your own theories of how the show is going to play out, let us know in the comments below. Because after all, what do we know? We're just nerds.